In future, there will be more prompt engineers than Python engineers.
AI is not a magic wand which can change your life or which can change everything. AI is definitely going to change and transform.
One AI tool you think every student should try today?
More you learn how to communicate with these AI, more better responses that you can expect out of it. 80% to 90% of the leadership is not trained onto it.
One skill every fresher must learn before 2026.
If you don't have the right data set, AI is useless. OpenAI is paying thousands of dollars just because somebody is generating thousands of images unnecessarily. Tomorrow world is all about knowledge. It's nothing else. Python is must for all the freshers. All software development has changed. The real transformation that I have seen into manufacturing.
What are the most common mistakes companies make when starting any AI project? If you had to describe the future of AI in one word, what is it gonna be? Hello everyone, this is Anil Bajpayee and welcome to AB Talks. On our call today, we have our guest Manish. He has 23 years of experience into data and AI. We will be talking about some of the interesting facts throughout his journey, and we will talk about some core concept on AI which may be beneficial for anyone who's aspiring to work on the AI or maybe thinking AI could be a next journey in his career or her career. So, with that, thank you, Manish, for joining me on the AB Talks.
Hey, great to meet you, Anu.
So, Manish, just walk us through your early journey, right? Your education, your background, your hometown, right? And then how you plan for the career that you are pursuing.
I am now 23 years in the industry. Started around 2001. I was born in a small city called Darbhanga in Bihar. And then my father was a bank employee. So he keep on moving to different place in India. So that's how I started moving to different place in India. Then I decided to do engineering, although I didn't decide to do engineering. It was my father who decided that I have to do engineering. At that point in time, it's usually the parents decided what a kid has to do. And then the resources were very limited. Like you don't know a lot of things that's happening around. AI, data, technology was very limited at that time. You know only by saying there's a computer which can do something, but not too much, especially in India, if I talk about this in small towns. So that's how my father put me to engineering. And then I started doing my graduation in Manipal. And I completed, before I even complete my engineering, started working. And at that point of time, digital transformation was on the top. Everybody wanted to get onto a .com or like build on a website and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of companies were hiring, and I was used to be a C++ developer at that time. But then I landed into a job which was more around website designing, and I'm very bad at it. Bad not because I can't do the coding, but website is very
Creative job.
yeah, it's a creative thing. It requires your brain to think very differently, and which I was not wired to. I was a hardcore programmer, and then I landed into a job which was like more around designing, coloring, styles, etc. And I felt, really tough to make that happen. Worked for them for 6 months, and then I realized, oh no, that's not. I cannot do this. And I moved into it. I moved out and joined Airtel. And I remember the time when telecom was pretty expensive and very prestigious sort of a thing if you have a cell phone in your hand. At that point of time, I started with Airtel, worked for them for a year, and then I moved into Reliance for a year and a half. And the Reliance launched this whole CDMA technology at that time. And this was a complete revolution in telecom. If you look at, I mean, now the way you are, making calls and even receiving calls all free, it was not that luxury at that point of time. So it's you had to
Yeah.
pay for everything incoming and outgoing. And I joined Reliance at that time, and then Reliance being a company which teaches you to do everything. From an office boy to a technology guy, everything, sales, collections, whatnot, right? So worked for them for a year and a half. It was very interesting because, as I said, I learned a lot to manage things and to do a lot of things, deal with data because they were pretty large, right? I mean, India, the biggest thing is that you have huge amount of data all around. And then I joined a company called Hewitt. It is known now Aon. At that time, it was Hewitt. It was a private held company, and then merged into a public, which becomes Aon. And then I think HCL is now owning that portion. Used to manage all back end data over there. But then I shifted my career from a hardcore C++ developer to more of data. And the only reason of the shift was I somehow started loving the way data tells you the story. The way you look at the data to understand the data and figure out what's happening next in the business, right? I mean, the intelligence that you do have with the data, nobody else in the organization would have. And that's what actually started helping me a lot to learn a lot of new things. So yeah, but worked for them for around what 4.5, 4 years. I did a lot of things over there. Moved into a company called Sapient. It's a consulting organization. Do a lot of digital and back office. I wouldn't say back office, most more of a commodity trading applications. They were building it up that time. There, data comes more on the highlight where I started dealing with a lot of data, internal finance, external finance, human resource. I dealt with global markets to deal with commodity trading, routing, a lot of different data. Worked for a lot of different large clients like Citibank, Bank of America, and others. Again, that journey was kind of teaching me a lot. But then I mean, at that point of time, it was, you know, I somehow do a comparison about myself and the people who were in my same career level. And I found that, oh, I'm way behind in terms of my designations, my control on the organization, my CTC even that time. And the people who are into purely in application development were like very different and they're pretty much on booming cycle, right? But then I still carry on data. So I started learning a lot. As I said, that the only thing which inspires me a lot about storytelling, the moment you start learning the data, you can tell about the business, you can talk about the business lines, which usually be appreciated by your top management and not usually by mid management because they are more on operations, right? But the moment this you deal with large data, you start talking to a lot of large and management people, which is pretty inspiring because then you're going to be just understanding how they think and how they process their data. I left Sapien and I joined a product company where I built a product called Luminor. It's kind of a Power BI sort of a tool where you develop your data visualization, data pipeline, warehouse, and whatnot. Again, from there, I move into an organization called CDK Global. It's a automotive retailer or automotive dealer software development organization. So they develop softwares for automotive dealers. Again, I manage a lot of work over there instead of real time data processing, data management, AI, so on. And now I work for a company called Robosoft, which is into consulting. So I head the entire practice of data and AI over here, dealing with AI solutions, data BI solutions, and things like that. So that's my overall journey. I am now in Pune, but I travel and I work for almost all part of India, whether spend stay a lot of time in Delhi, Noida, Gurgaon, move into Bhopal for almost 4.5 years, moved to Bangalore for almost 2 years. Then I moved to Pune. I'm here, but in meantime, I moved to multiple places in India and also in US. I was there in US for quite some time, London for some time, and so forth. So that's my journey.
Well, it's very inspiring. I would say, Manish, right? When I just look at your journey, you started from telecom, that you worked on banking, and then you worked on automobile, right? So it's a quite interesting journey, and some of the things that you talked about, right? So, first question that came to my mind, coming from Bihar, thinking about corporate, not about the government job.
Yeah, that's you hit the right chord over here. uh, my dad was, as I said, my dad was in a bank. I mean, though he want me to get into a government job, but then he also want me to become an engineer. And I think for some reason, I also was inspired to become an engineer. And when I said that, okay, I don't want to go for government jobs and kind of go for, training and giving exams and all. My dad was pretty supportive for that. Said, okay, fine, whatever you want to do, go and do. So that's how I landed into corporate, and he was never against it. I mean, he said that as long as you're making money, as long as you able to support yourself, and then possibly in future you can support me, and I'm okay with that. I in my life I never tried for any government job, and I have no regret for that. I haven't tried. Although I admire people who does the government job. My dad was a government job. My
Yeah.
brother was in a government job. But then I didn't try it. I started doing it and I liking it, and I'm still liking it. So I didn't find a reason why I should go for a government job. So that's how it.
Why ask this question? This is kind of a personal to me, right? Because when I started, like after my graduation, my mother pushed me a lot for getting into a government job. And then I had a hard time convincing her that corporate can do better in terms of government. And I feel more energy being in the corporate job than the government one. So after almost 17, 18 years in the industry, when she look back and she compares with other government employees, she think, now I think my decision was good, right? So that's how like I look at my journey. So probably maybe we can inspire more generations, and we can say like this is also an option when you think of agility and think of changing and think of fast learning. But in the government also, like some of my friends, they've been learning quite fast. It's not that government job 20 years back. They are also talking about AI. They are also traveling the world and understanding what is happening latest in the market. So
Yeah.
overall shift is happening. Next
Yeah.
thing, Manish, like people from UP and Bihar, right? We had, means at least I had a lot of struggles in keeping my Kanpuriya tongue, right? I hail from Kanpur, right? So that created a lot of barriers, language barriers, in early part of my life. Did you face similar challenges? And if yes, how did you come over it?
Oh, a lot. You can't imagine the struggle that I've gone through because of this. And not because of my tone and accent. It's more about English. English is not a primary language, especially in North. Delhi is still better compared to any other state. But UP Bihar is kind of, I think now it's changing a lot. But at the time when I was studying, I did my schooling and all. It was a secondary language. Nobody cares about English. Although my father was pretty strict, kind of pushing me hard to learn English, and I kind of thank him so that I won't say that I was pretty much fluent and excellent in English, but then at least, I mean, I don't know how to call it in English, "Andhe mein kanha raja," right? I mean, that's kind of a thing, right? You
Right,
know something, more than somebody else, right? That's
right.
the kind of thing I was at. But when I came out, when I came into college, and because it was in Manipal, which is again in South. So entire language or the entire lecture was happening in English. And I was like, the very first day when and I think I was late for a few days. I joined 5 days late, the classes. And the day I went, my dad was also with me. That was my first lecture, and I was like so much depressed.
What happened to me also?
And I came out and said my dad that, okay, that's not for me. I can't really do it. I said, no, 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 go ahead. Don't worry. Nothing will happen. And then the next challenge which happened is that if you are coming from, I mean, nowadays it's very different, but then at that point of time, computers are aliens, right? Nobody
Yeah,
have seen, I haven't seen computers
yeah.
other than the reservation counter, those small computers that you have seen. Other than that, you don't know about computers. So the first day, I get into the computer lab, I was struggling to figure out how to switch it on. So, and they used to time, and there was a monitor, the CRT big monitors, and then this like CPU, which is, at the pedestal, kept in below their desk, and you
Yeah.
have their mouse. And I was struggling to figure out how to switch it on. One of my friends was sitting next to me. He actually switched it on, and I think at that time, the teacher has started teaching DOS. I think nobody learned DOS anymore. But then, yeah, that point in time, he started teaching DOS, and my friend was saying, okay, you have to do CD, you have to write echo and all
Copy.
of that.
We are the generation who has seen from floppy terabyte of
Windows, Windows 98 and 97. So yeah, that was pretty tough time. The first few weeks, I was like so much of in trouble, not able to understand anything what's happening. Computer was pretty much alien to me, and I was having tough time there. Then I think my professor understood my challenge, and I think he called me one day and say, "Hey, do you see any challenge?" I said, "Yeah, I mean, I don't understand English, and I don't understand what you're teaching. I don't understand the computers." So then he said, "Okay, don't worry. After the class, you just come to me and I'll teach you. I'll at least give you something which you can understand." And then he helped me a lot. He actually teaches me, and he uses Hindi language to teach me a lot of time. And that's how I started learning. And then he switched from DOS to Windows, I think. And that's where the whole gear shift has happened because there was something which I can see, I can click, I can move, I can do something, right? I mean, I started liking it,
yeah.
and I started learning English because I realized that if you don't learn it, you'll have challenges. Yeah, it took me I don't know how many years. I'm still not perfect, I would say, but yeah, starting few years it was struggle, obviously, but then it slowly because of my friends, because of the professors who are teaching it, the environment that you are in help you to lot learn these things. And then finally, I mean, I started speaking and started talking. I was pretty shy at that time because when you come from some small town and you don't know English, you don't know how to communicate, you have lots of challenge, but then slowly it goes.
And I still remember those were the times when you have like English speaking courses, classes, right? I still remember I used to call even right. The call was costly. I remember that there used to be times when I used to call customer care. I did not had to do anything with them, but just to practice because I was so shy. Right, I cannot speak to someone who can just say, "Hey, you made a mistake." But with this current era, Manish, I've seen like there are so many apps that can make you learn English, practice it, any language, I would say. Even the latest iOS has launched real time translation, right? So the world has been changing, language barrier has been disappearing, but it is more about the mind shift. So thanks for putting those thoughts. I really love that. Now, coming about some of the AI specific questions, right? What does AI service ecosystem really mean in execution, right? What do you have seen in the current ecosystem?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of myth around AI. There are a lot of buzz around AI. AI is not a new thing, I would say. I mean, it's not that, born in, 2023 when OpenAI came in the picture. I'm seeing AI for pretty long. I worked onto NLP for a lot of time in past. Worked on machine learning in past. So AI is not new. The thing that's happened is now generally accepted.
Or
Like,
the usability, maybe.
yeah, I mean, AI was primarily for developers, primarily for data scientists, primarily for people who are in that field. But now it is everybody is using AI. I mean, today. That's what the transformation has happened in 2003 and 22 and so on and so forth. So if I talk about this whole ecosystem that AI service is using, I think it start with data. I know nobody talks about that. When people talk about AI, they talk about framework, they talk about models, they talk about applications and so on. But I strongly believe that if you don't have the right data set, AI is useless. Other than generating some images or some text that you do on OpenAI, you can't really use it, right? If you're just using AI for improving your email writing skills or generating certain content or to generate some images and putting on LinkedIn or social media, that's not going to help. It's just creating a lot of load onto AI servers. OpenAI is paying thousands of dollars just because somebody is generating thousands of images unnecessarily. So I believe that data is the first piece and foremost piece of AI, and it comes with a lot of things like your ingestions, your storage, your streaming, your ETL, embeddings, even embeddings which everybody talks about. It's all about data, right? I mean that's what you're doing. And then obviously, you know, you'd use the models, the LLM model, the SLM model. You do fine tuning of the models. Now MCPs are coming in picture, so you're dealing with that. You deal with tools, orchestrations. But the other important part, which also comes in the picture, is the governance. Again, we're not talking about it. A lot of time we miss that piece. That's very important. When AI comes in picture, where you don't have a control on the flow, right? I mean, you're just typing in, your AI is processing and giving the answers, or doing certain things on your behalf, like an agent. But you're not putting the right guardrails around things. It's a machine, right? It's laws what you teach them. And I assume that more garbage that you're going to put onto the machine, more garbage it's going to send it to you. I mean, it just runs from the public data that you're doing. If you teach them how to abuse, it's going to start abusing you, right? So it's
Exactly.
like that. But then you as a human, you need to understand that the guardrails are pretty important. Governance is important around it. Security is super important because if you started dealing with business data, if you start dealing with enterprise data, you have to be very careful. One single mistake and you're going to be ruin your entire reputation in the market. And at the same place, your integrations, right? I mean, you do a lot of integrations with AI. Nowadays, all the modern tech stacks which are coming is giving a lot of ability to integrate. You don't have to really build a large RAG system to integrate or understand your knowledge base. Your knowledge base are also getting siloed. You have thousands of different knowledge stores that you can integrate and start using them to get your data and information that you're looking for. So I think that's holistically think about the ecosystem that AI is currently using. One important piece which I miss is the entire AI ops and ML ops. Again, this is not something which has been used very widely by people. But then this is very important because the moment AI agent or AI solutions goes into production, the real games start from there because the development
Yeah.
is one. But then once you deploy it and you start using it, how quickly you are, improving it, removing the hallucinations which happens, scaling the
Feedbacks are important.
that's all. That's a big task to do,
Yeah.
and I'm seeing that the next set of years you will see more jobs in these areas
Yeah.
than more developers because development becomes pretty specific and niche, but then this becomes very general because everybody going to require it. So yep, that's what
You touched an important point. There is a shift in the kind of jobs. But one question that I asked to all my guests: what skills should a student or fresher start building today to become job ready in Gen AI by 2026?
good question. I don't want to start with the technology that somebody learned. I think the most important piece somebody has to learn is domain, because I remember a time when I was building up machine learning models for organizations. When you do a feature engineering, right, in machine learning, you figure out which column is relevant, right, for your model. And statistically, you find that there's a column which it's very relevant because that impact your variables, and you start using it. But then when you actually launch that model, you realize that that column is of no use because
Mhm.
this is not using it. For them, it is like, oh, 3 months back, yes, I was using it, but now not. It's irrelevant. Why are you building wall on top of it? So I think the first and foremost thing is to really understand the business and domain. Because tomorrow world is all about knowledge, right? It's nothing else. Development becomes, as I said like a few minutes back, that development will become more of redundant and it will be very specific and specialized and not generalized. But the only thing that gonna works is how much you know about things, how much you know about business. So domain is definitely a key. I think my advice to all the freshers is to keep their eyes and ears open. Look at things around you. Look at how the business are growing. What people are doing. Like Lenskart has launched its AI classes very recent, and I mean, to differentiate, I mean, they had a lot of Meta has launched the first AI glasses, right? But then what Lenskart has done that they're bringing this whole UPI scanning things, right? I mean, you can make the payment through your glasses basically. You don't have to open up your mobile. That's a shift that's happening. But then think about it that technically you could have not think that. Like, first thing first, you have to think about, okay, how I can utilize my own product or the AI specification into solving certain different problems that I do have. So important is to understand domain, understand how to solve a problem with AI, without AI, but then the important is how to solve a problem. Other than these two pretty important things, from a technology standpoint, I would say spend time on Python. Is the another set of language, or I think it's the next Java. I, when I was doing my career start, and I think 3 years down the line, Java becomes like a biggest language at that time. It's still, I mean, Java is still being used for a lot,
Enterprise application, yes, it is.
still there. But for all AI and data type of work, I think Python takes the precedence over there because of its flexibility, because of its ease of use, extensibility that it offers. So I think Python is must for all the freshers. SQL is another one which is pretty must because you got to deal with data ultimately. So that's from a tech standpoint. I think these are the two things which is very important. One last thing is which I had problem with communication skill sets. I think that's also very important because as I said, nowadays people don't treat you as fresher. When they
Yeah.
don't feel you are a fresher, right? At our time, when a newbie comes in the corporate world, we've been treated as fresher. They don't expect us to be like productive at least for next 6 months to 1 year. But coming time, it will not happen in that way. Even if you join on the very first day, the people expect that you're going to be producing certain things. So it's important that you communicate. It's important that you put the impression in front of your management or your organization. Express your thoughts. So I think these are the key thing that freshers has to be you know
Sure.
take care.
And on top of it, I believe, Manish, the way like I started hiring a lot of freshers, right? One thing that I mentioned that you should have good GitHub is like GitHub repo that talks
Yes.
about your work. And second thing, there should be really good hacker earth or any coding experience, right? Maybe some sort of that profile that helps for us to like quickly shortlist along with some of the important point that you mentioned. Moving ahead in the journey, what is one example where AI drastically changed a traditional process and whatever domain, right? You talked about that you worked in telecom, you worked on banking, you worked on automobile. So, any one domain that you want to pick, and then you would talk about how traditionally it has changed everything to help of AI.
You can see a large shift within IT services itself. The entire coding or the whole software development has changed. But I think the real example or a real transformation that I have seen is through manufacturing. Manufacturing used to be a very labor intensive type of a journey or organization where people are paid because of number of hours they really work over there. But then I won't say purely AI, but I think the entire digital transformation that has happened over the year in manufacturing and now the AI obviously changing a lot or actually changed a lot into auto manufacturing. Now, if you see the whole autonomous vehicle started coming in, the entire production of vehicle, the designs has also changed. It used to be a design which is equipment centric. So basically, you do have think about you have a part which has a board and that board has a program run on it and it runs for that particular board only, right? It doesn't communicate with the others. But then it's very similar, it sends the signals to other component just to make sure, okay, this is happening. But then this whole design is changing today, right? I mean, they're bringing up whole kind of a microservice architectures where you have center controllers and then you have smaller controllers across and which is talking to each other. And then bringing AI, which is kind of making things more autonomous. You don't have to really think about what next. Commands are there. You can open up the doors and all. It's not just the cars. Even if the production, if you look at a lot happening through robots over there, whether on the production line or packaging line or distribution event, right? I mean, there's a lot of things which is happening through these autonomous vehicle or these autonomous bots which are working on behalf of the people. So I think the huge transformation that I have seen is into auto manufacturing. Whether as I said, like it's touching almost every sort of the life, every sort of business that you can think of, whether it's pharmaceuticals, medical, IT services itself, manufacturing, teaching, ed tech becomes like a big change, right? I mean, we just talking about on videos thinking about 10 years, 15 years back. It was not like that. So yeah, I mean that's the big change or a shift that I see in most of the industries.
So you talked about autonomous agent, you talked about some of the changes in the supply chain. What do you see as a primarily tool or the platform for building agents, be it a Copilot Studio, LangChain, LangGraph, N8N, which you have seen is most successful and why?
Yeah, so there are many which is available. And attain is there, Crew is there. Crew is pretty popular. I personally use LangGraph a lot. Chain is an old technology. I won't say old. Old means like it was pioneer, right? I mean, nobody else was there. You had Hugging Face and LangChain. Now you have a LangGraph, which you can use for Agentic AI. The AutoGen has also come in on a Microsoft open source project, which is there. I think this year itself, AWS has launched this whole Bedrock agents, which is also there. So a lot of new platforms are coming to build these agents. But I think we just need to understand that now these agents going to be doing a certain task that you're going to be doing. I mean, in fact, if you look at if you're just thinking agents as more automations, then I think UiPath was doing a pretty good job right, in automation. Blue Prism is also there, right? And I think UiPath is also bringing agentic AI within the ecosystem. So there's a lot of platforms in place as in today. I won't say there is one favorite of mine, but I personally use LangGraph a lot, which gives me a lot of flexibility because it helps me to, make available a lot of tools to interact with. It has a pretty good memory management and context holding and capturing thing. Because the other frameworks like Langsmith, LangFlow, which is there attached with the LangGraph, becomes like a complete ecosystem that you can build. You can have your observability on top of it to understand how the agents are behaving, what challenges you're facing, and things like that. That gives me a lot of confidence around the platform. And as I said, it because widely used, it's old, mature platform. It's not very new. So that gives you more, what do you call it, trust on the platform to use. But all the newer platforms are also tweaked pretty well. I've used AutoGen. That's also good. N8N, pretty fast and, drag and drop, and you can build the workflows. I mean, if you're building generic workflows, I think N8N does pretty good job. Crew is also pretty much
Yeah.
doing this job.
I think you summarized it well. So for any enterprise, you would like to go for LangGraph for anything which is more about the general productivity and open source, or maybe general public available
Yeah.
applications. So N8 and wins the race. That's good to know. So one thing like and the inspiration to start this AB talks. I want to capture about the mistakes. I want to learn from others' mistake. I want to understand why these GenAI and Agentic AI project fails. What are the
Mm.
most common mistakes companies make when starting any AI project?
I think the biggest common mistake that almost everybody is making is about using AI as a buzz. AI is not a magic wand which can change your life or which can change everything. It has its own way of working. Unless you're not treating AI as a tool which can transform things, and you're just trying to do some experiments because you want to please your manager, somebody else going to be pleasing their managers and so forth. It'll remain into experiments, it remain into POCs. It never see the light of production. It never be going to be used by people, and it'll fail for sure. I mean, I'm just taking an example that let's say you build a AI which can talk about your HR policies. Okay, great. But then what's the usage? I mean, how much are you going to use it? How many times you go and open up the policies? I hardly seen policies in my career. Induction program that happens. After that, it's like, yeah, that's fine. Whatever happens, happens. I can't do anything, right? I mean, other than leave policies, I don't care about any other policies that you do have. But you can find a lot of organization investing into, okay, let's build an AI agent which can talks about policies. Great. I mean, if you just want to prove that AI works, yes, that's a good use case to pick up with. But then that's not going to solve any problem. I think the we as a management or top leaders have need to think about what and where and then to implement AI. That's on a strategy and not like a program, right? The problem is that we picking AI is more of a program. because my top leadership is saying, let's implement AI across organization. And that's the biggest mistake of leadership doing, the saying, okay, go ahead and do something in AI. Rather than, if the leadership comes with a strategy, this is what I want to implement across the organization. I think that changed things drastically. But then the problem is that the leadership comes with a statement that everybody has to do something in the AI. I want to transform the entire organization in adopting AI. Now, the middle management, which is, I think, sitting on a sword, which he has to deal with people, he has to deal with management. And okay, fine, I have to do something. He goes and pushes his team. Hey, can we do something? And team, which is at the lowest in the whole value chain, is
Yeah.
thinking, okay, I need to please my manager because I have to make my own, numbers and rating and ranking. So he goes and propose, oh, sir, because we're doing this, can we build agent on top of it? Idea, let's do it. Somebody start building agent, then somebody start building another agent, and
Yeah.
there are hundred of people who are building different agents across. They demoed it. Oh, I love that idea. Oh, wow, this is great. But if I need to take it to production, there's IT comes in the place. Then you have to think about, oh, what about guardless? What about security? What about other things? Nobody cares about that. And that whole agent remain into somebody's desktop as a demo thing, which he can keep demoing all over the organization, but never comes into the production, never been used, adopted by people. And I think the biggest challenge of AI is adoption, right? Unless you know it, you think about OpenAI, if nobody adopted that technology, this could not be this big, right? Because people started adopting, and because it was so much general, it doesn't tells you that you have to be a Python developer to use it, right? So that's the reason why everybody is using OpenAI today, and it solves real general problems of people, right? So that's why it's been widely used. But then the way the organization is working is way different. I mean, as I said, I mean, they just want to be in this race of AI, not to put that as more of a strategy. That's the big problem. But then there are organizations which are putting AI as more of a strategy, and they're pretty successful. I mean, I see them having a lot of AI products in place, solutions which are really working, and they're investing in it, and they have the right directions to go and how to move forward from here. So I think that's the one big mistake that most of the organizations are doing. They don't look at the data. I mean, I know data engineers keep on saying, "Hey, our data is not great. This is not going to help." And the manager says that I don't care about data. Let's build something on AI. And that's the stupid statement that I've ever heard, that let's build something on AI. Don't worry about the data. Come on, that data has to be fed into the AI. How can you say that?
Yeah.
It's not worry about the data. So I think these are common mistakes that everybody is doing. Let's not run on this race. There's no race, I would say. It's a technology which has to be adopted. It's a technology which will help. So I think we should be using it more wisely and accurately so that we can get the benefit out of it than just the technology which is, yeah, we can talk about it but not use it.
I think that is going to be the highlight of this podcast. You touched three most important thing. One, that don't use it just as a technology. There should be a strong business case. Then you talked about POC to production problem. That is very genuine. I've seen it everywhere. The third thing, adoption, right? Even if you make it to production, is it really worth people starts using it? And fourth, that could be a complement to this is the cost factor to it, right? That even if it is in production, you think that it is going to make a big ROI shift, but it is not, right? So the cost factor is also plays into it. That's
Yep.
really awesome for putting all these three things, four things together. So, do you think that in future there will be more prompt engineers than Python engineers?
We now have a lot of prompt engineers. If you see, I mean, everybody just think about it. Everybody who's using OpenAI, Meta, or Grok, or DeepSeek, all are prompt engineers. That's
So
what
we
I'm
are
saying.
shifting more towards prompt engineers than the.
I mean, that's what the world is shifting to. I mean, AI, if you have to use AI, you have to be a prompt engineer, right? I mean, I don't know why the people call it it's prompt engineer. Everybody's typing prompt as a prompt. There's nothing called prompt engineering, right? I mean, you're not doing anything other than writing in English. So, in my thought, yes, prompt engineering taking a larger leap than any Python developer or developer for that matter. Developers are primarily going to be using to build these solutions, which is a truth and which will remain truth. There's no change. But then this prompt going to be changing a lot because more you learn how to communicate with these AI, more better responses that you can expect out of it. So I think everybody has to learn how to do the prompts. And I don't want to say that, okay, go for zero sauce, few sauce, and all those technology and techniques. But, I mean, either you don't know these techniques, but you still can write prompts. And I take an example of my wife. She is a content manager. She's into marketing. She does generate a lot of content. I think she's amazing prompt engineer. I say that. I mean, if I have a problem, I go to her and say, "Hey, can you figure out this thing for me?" And she just type in a few things, and she get the answers, which I don't. Right. So I think it's more about this mindsets that you do have. How quickly you understand how your AI going to be reacting onto your questions is what prompt engineering is. Nothing else. No techniques. No a geek word, prompt engineering. It's the ability for you to understand how a system going to react onto your message, and then how quickly you can change your own messaging style so that your system going to give you better response and answers. I think that's what going to help, and I think everybody is going into this. And this, I think, large community will become prompt engineers tomorrow. They're Python developers.
And you will be like any language agnostic. Be you want
Years.
do it
Yes.
in the Java, Python, but if you are a good prompt engineer, you should be. So we are getting into the last discussion, last segment of this discussion. We call it like rapid fire round, and this will be very concise, just few words to a statement kind of thing. I'll ask 4 or 5 questions, Manish, and if any of these questions doesn't you cannot think of immediately, we can pass to that. So the first one is one AI tool you think every student should try today.
LangFlow.
One leadership habit you never compromise on.
Innovation.
Data first or AI first? What comes before?
Data. Always.
Yeah, data always. One book or podcast that shaped your thinking.
I really don't read books. Can't really comment on it.
Maybe I just recently read through Eat That Frog. So if anyone wants to just try for avoiding procrastination, can use that. One skill every fresher must learn before 2026.
Python, SQL, and domain. Maybe I said it or also.
Yeah. If you had to describe the future of AI in one word, what is gonna be?
Being virtual, augmented. Yeah, that's what gonna happen tomorrow. I will be virtual. You will be virtual tomorrow. I know the metaverse is running slow and or maybe paused for some time. But I think that's the future you may see with this all changes which is happening. I think metaverse was way beyond their time. so so the acceptance adoption was low. But I think the way we are moving, we're gonna be
I'll be
virtual.
back on track soon.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's the new thing gonna happen.
So that's all, Manish. Maybe I think any last thought that you want to put for the viewers and the audience who's going to watch this podcast that you want to conclude with?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I said a lot about data, AI, in this whole podcast, but I think I want to say this to more top leadership that AI is definitely going to change and transform. I think we need to think holistically than just running in the race. Let's not put your developers, your big good talents into this race because that's not gonna make any difference. Then you have something somebody said something, some agent, some conversational AI sitting on somebody's desktop. That's not going to help anybody. But I think we all need to think from a strategy standpoint. We also need to learn, right? And it's very important. I think we ask our developers to learn a lot of things, but I think the most important piece is the leaders has to learn a lot.
Yep.
We are coming from an age where AI was nowhere, right? It's a new thing for all of us, including me, including you, including all the leadership. I mean, all of them are of more or less similar age circle or similar career stage. So it's important that we should learn first. We spend time on it. We get our hands dirty so that we understand this strategy. Otherwise, it'll again be a buzzword. And that's the reason why it's buzzword, because leadership, you know, I don't want to blame it, but I think 80% to 90% of the leadership is not trained onto it. I mean, they adopted this word because everybody's talking about it. Media is talking about it. Large tech companies are talking about it. And that's how we started talking about this. But
And that is all about AV Talks, Manish, because that's what inspired me. There is a gap that the developers community read through the Udemy, right? As so much tools and technologies available. So that's I think I told you in the beginning also, that is the very much fundamental of it. But any sources that you want to talk about, right? Any reports, any newsletters that you want to talk about, how the leaders can quickly get equipped with.
I don't want to refer any reporter or newsletter because they just talk about, again, very high level thing. 2035, this will be $1 trillion business and all. Yes, it'll be, it may or may not be. I don't know at this time. But I think we all need to invest into some basics of AI to understand how these technologies are being implemented. And there are a lot of good courses on Udemy, Coursera, LinkedIn even, which people can try. I mean, if you follow me, I can ping you some of the courses that I prefer the leadership to do. But I think we need to invest time into learning this technology a bit, not the benefit of it, because benefits is all around. Right? I mean, you can just type in what's the benefit of AI, you'll thousands of articles gonna comes on your face. But more than that, we need to understand the nitty-gritty of it, whether it's feasible thing for your business or not, whether it's gonna make some changes to you or not. Do I need to go in this direction or not? Is it right thing to do? There are a lot of things that you need to answer before you go and implement things. And for that, it's important that you learn this technology not from a developer angle, but more from a business angle to understand that how this technology is shaping up things, why it is being used. I mean, if I have to use LangGraph versus Group versus AutoGen versus N8N, which is the right thing for me to do? Do I need to believe in this? Do I need to believe doing that? Do I need to do email automations? I mean, there's tons of Kang language or questions that you may have need to answer. So yeah, we should invest time into a bit of technical training onto these areas and then a business training, because then you'll understand what that means. Otherwise, it's again a buzzword which you're going to pick up certain keywords from there and you start talking about all those places and give us your lectures to all your juniors and developers saying, okay, you do this and do that. But the results are zero, right? And that's the reason why I'm one of failures which are happening. So, yep, that's my advice to the leadership
Good.
team.
So I'm gonna like ping you, take some of these links and put it in the description so that anyone can get benefited from. But thank you so much, Manish, for joining me on this podcast and making it really useful for the leaders and the audience that we have on LinkedIn and YouTube. With that, thank you so much, Manish, for your time with this weekend.
Thank you. Yeah, that's nice. Nice talking to you.